Paul goes faithfully to the synagogue and he reasons with them from the scriptures. He goes faithfully to the marketplace and he preaches the gospel, full on, no holds barred, preaching Christ and the resurrection to people, by the way, who philosophically are opposed to the idea of resurrection. They call him names, they mock him. And the result is God puts him on the biggest platform of his day. What does he do with it? Here's what's interesting. What he does with it is he preaches the gospel, but he preaches it in a way that's very unique because of his audience. You see, when he's talking to a Jewish audience, he has the same worldview. When he's talking to a non-Jewish audience, they don't share the same worldview. If you share the same worldview, you can sort of assume that they understand where you're going and where you're coming from. But if they don't share the same worldview, somehow you have got to bring them into your worldview. So how do you bring them into your worldview? Well, the overarching meta-narrative of the Christian worldview is what? Creation, fall, redemption, consummation. That's the overarching meta-narrative. Creation, fall, redemption, consummation. Somehow you have to communicate that to people. So what does Paul do when he gets his big shot at the Areopagus? Watch him. So Paul, standing in the midst of the Areopagus, said, "Men of Athens, I perceive that in every way you are very religious. For I passed along and observed the objects of your worship. I found also an altar with this inscription, 'To an unknown God.'" He observed the culture, and let me say that it's important that we do that. You need to observe the culture. I am not arguing that you need to be an enemy of the culture or that you need to be ignorant of the culture. You must observe the culture. We just heard from some individuals who are going to Ecuador. They are learning things about Ecuador so that when they get there, they're not completely ignorant of the culture. So that when they have conversations with people, they understand who these individuals are. Paul observed his culture. We should observe our culture. We should be objective observers of culture. But there is a difference between being an objective observer of culture and being an indiscriminate consumer of culture. One of those is completely and utterly unacceptable. An indiscriminate consumer of culture says that it's right because it's popular in the culture. And the goal is to be popular in the culture. Therefore, we must adopt and adapt whatever it is that the culture celebrates. Paul is not making that argument. He is observing his culture with a view toward the proclamation of the gospel. And notice what he says next. "What therefore you worship as unknown, that I proclaim to you." I observed your culture and I saw some statues. I really like that one over there that was, to an unknown God. By the way, that God that you say is unknown, let me introduce him to you.